I'm such a fan of all sports because of the teammanship, because of the fact that you guys are all out there and your brothers. You're going to win a game together. It's not one person who's winning the game, and that's instituted in you at a young age. And how else has that helped you sort of in life? Doesn't that help you appreciate other people a lot more because you appreciate your team so much?
It really does. And for me, just looking at like a variety of different situations outside of even athletics, I think one of the cool things, especially with football, is that everybody has their role. Everyone plays their little piece. And although some roles might be bigger than others, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's more important. You look at a guy, for example, on our squad, like Chris Matthews last year. The guy was a practice squad player for the last half of the year, getting guys better, getting guys ready. And his role in the game was an onside kick against Green Bay in the NFC Championship. And he's there, bam, makes the play. And the next thing you know, in the Super Bowl, he catches a couple of touchdowns or a touchdown, a bunch of plays, you know what I'm saying? So I guess, to kind of elaborate on your question, it really does. It allows you to kind of look back and take a look at the bigger picture. So it is kind of cool to, because you really appreciate a lot of guys, special teams guys in the NFL are one that, they're not household names with fans, but you go in there and see the work they're putting in, how they're making everyone else around them better, and just the plays they make on special teams. It's pretty cool to see.
My goodness. And then you go and you get drafted by the Seahawks, correct?
Correct. Yep.
And what pick were you?
153, I want to say, but don't quote me on that.
Okay.
5th round.
I'm not going to quote you.
I want to say 153.
You're 6'6", 250 at a good weight. I'm not going to.
Now that I say
whatever
that,
you say, we're not
I think I was 158. I'm pretty sure it was 158.
That's it then.
You can tell us number one. You can tell us number one. We wouldn't question.
That's right. Yeah, I was the first pick overall. Again, that's how it was. And then again, you got drafted. They're like, "Yo, congrats. See you out here next weekend." So I got drafted on the Saturday, and I flew out on the Thursday for physicals and had minicamp Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Wow. And then you make the Seattle Seahawks. You go on. It's so crazy, dude. Canadian kid from Windsor. You go on in your first year to not only demolishing the Broncos and winning a Super Bowl, but catching, legitimately playing a big part of that game.
Yeah, it was cool. Caught a couple balls, and again, it was pretty surreal, man. Just being out there, and what was neat about that game was we were drilling them by so much that you got to enjoy it. When Percy scored, we were up 21-0.5, and Percy Harvin returned the opening kickoff for a touchdown. And I remember sitting there and being like, I don't want to jinx it, but we've won the Super Bowl. And I was sitting there like, holy shit. Like, my journey from, like you said, kid in LaSalle, I went to Villanova High School, It wasn't like I was one of these kids who was 8, lived in Canada till I was 8, and moved to some prep school, like born here, raised here, went to elementary school, wasn't like some sort of, prep all boys school or anything like
prodigy,
that.
Genetics, father already played in the league.
It was again, you should have seen. So again, we got 2 people who were allowed to come on the field after the game.
Okay.
So if you won, that's if you win. So I bring my mom and dad down. My mom's snapping a million photos. She's all fired up. My dad, he's a big sports fan, baseball, football guy, big hockey fan too. Just bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. Like, he's going, Luke, this is crazy. I'm like, hell yeah, it is, dude. It's nuts. But
you have some tears? Do you guys cry together?
You know
what?
Yeah. We're not really criers. We're more like, hyper excited guys. My mom might have had some tears, but I'm not a big. If it gets super emotional, maybe at a movie, I might shed one.
I'm crying right now just hearing this story. It's so sweet.
But at that point, I had a smile from ear to ear, just like going nuts. I had the Canadian flag around my shoulders for most of it. It was pretty dope.
Very cool. Hey, how good is Russell Wilson? Like, does this guy just blow your mind?
He does, because for me, it's you see guys in the NFL, and everyone's good in the NFL, and then usually everyone in the NFL does one thing great, like really great. But what's cool about Russell is he's so versatile. Like, you don't see a ton of guys that could be like, okay, this quarterback has the big arm, or this quarterback is really smart, or and it's like Russ comes out, he's got the big arm, the guy can throw the football a million miles. But then it's like, you know what? Here he goes. He runs a zone read. He's pulling it, touchdown. But then on top of that, he's, in my opinion, and I'm obviously biased, the best scrambler in football right now, without a doubt. And I think he'll go down as one of the all-time greats. I mean, and the cool thing about his scrambling is it's not like, hey, I'm going to scramble and go get a 6-yard run. It's like, hey, I'm going to scramble one side, scramble the other side. It's backyard football. Oh, we just completed a 45-yard pass. And it's like, dude, how did you do that? And then the next thing you know, and his other thing that I think guys overlook him for is his ability to make tacklers miss. Like, he's
makes it look silly.
Silly.
Talk about those highlight reels where you don't want to be a part of.
And it's like he pulls it. Okay, linebacker flows over the top, makes a nice read. And it's like, this should be a 3-yard loss. And Russell will, next thing you know, the guy doesn't even get a hand on him. And it's like, oh my God, that was bad. Like, you'll be sitting there like, if I'm not on the field or you're watching a film, like, oh, that's a really poor play by this dude. And it's like, he does this every week, like just embarrassing people.
As a tight end, though, who could be obviously on the receiving end of those passes while he's scrambling around, how much more alert have you had to be, as the play extends? Because I'm sure you're not really used to something that, it's an extra 20 seconds of a play that, things happen so quickly in football. Are you always have to obviously know what he's doing to know and try and get open and all this kind of stuff, or block or whatever it may be.
Definitely. We have some general rules, but it really becomes like we have some ideas so we're on the same page as far as, hey, if you're the deep man, if you're the short man, if you're in this side of the field. But in a way, it's a field thing, and it becomes kind of like within these 5 or 6 rules you have, it's kind of like, hey, backyard football with some general ideas so that you're both on the same page, if that makes sense.
Well, it does make sense, and the reason why it does, I relate back to an interview, and maybe I shouldn't bring this name up, but I was so fascinated a few years back when I saw David Letterman interview Tom Brady, and the talk about sort of the sorry about bringing up the name, but the sort of how intelligent football is, and how crazy the playbooks are. And how the minds of football players don't ever stereotype any of these guys, because I dare anyone to go and try and memorize the playbook like this. And then the rules sort of on top of it that you have when a guy's scrambling, not to break this code or whatever.
Yep.
It is how hard is it? How difficult is it, Luke Willson, to study these new playbooks?
So that's a great question.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, it's one thing that guys really overlook. I find that fans overlook. But we literally, it's some of very similar plays, but how it's blocked or how it's run, we literally install a playbook every week, like every single week. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that we have a brand new set of plays every week. That's just absurd. But it's new ways to block it, new ways. Okay, and it just gets to the degree where it's like, hey, this team runs a 25 front. So again, this is kind of
football talk,
football talk. But their DN is a 5 tech, where the next week he's a 4 eye. So instead of lining up on the outside shoulder of the tackle, he lines up on his inside eye, and they'll walk the Sam on the ball. And it's like the same play now has complete different calls and is run, like the schematically is run differently.
Brody, are you turned on just by hearing that? Is that like
very so much. Hey, I'm Jake Brody. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and leave a comment. We read the best ones on the air.